Well, that's how you start. My Riesling's not too chilled, but
Exactly.
good. Okay. Welcome, Daniel. It's not the first time you and I have been drinking on Zoom. I'm excited to know that eventually you're going to be here this summer, so eventually we can do it in person soon. Should we start with the Spark? Because you know it's one of my favorites. Yeah,
Yeah,
just give
no, for
everybody a
sure.
little preview of it's supposed to be my morning bubbles when I go to Niagara. I always stop in at Tawse for Spark.
Mm. Well, thank you for this. Yeah, well, we at Tawse we make about five different type of sparkling wines every year, and this one that you have at the restaurant is the Quarry Road Sparkling Chardonnay 2015. That's one that we make in smaller batch, and it comes from one of our single vineyard certified organic vineyard as well, which is exciting. And this one had spent about 6 years on lease before this gorging. So what it does is that it will give a bit more leesy, a bit more yeasty and biscuity note into the sparkling wine. So it's a bit less fruit forward, I would say. But it has no all of these nice secondary and tertiary aromas and flavors. And this vineyard is on top of the escarpment with lots of limestone very close to the topsoil, so it makes wines that are quite mineral driven with lots of freshness and acidity. And of course, to make sparkling wine, we usually pick our fruit about 2 weeks before what we would normally do for our table wine, to have a bit less sugar in the grapes and more but more acid, because we really want acidity in our sparkling wine to really tantalize your palate, make you want to eat, and that's what this sparkling wine will do.
The Quarry Road wines are some of my favorites. I happen to love that minerality and the acidity and the freshness. So usually when I'm at Tawse and I'm looking around at the wines in the shop, those are the word I'm looking for Quarry Road because that's kind of where
Yes,
that's my happy place.
very
Uh,
good.
so let's go to, do you want to do the Riesling or the Chardonnay next?
We can do the Riesling.
Okay, just because you know it's
Yeah.
one of my favorites.
Yes.
Yeah, so this Riesling is what I'm sipping on because it's kind of early this morning when we're chatting, and like I said, if I was going to choose something in my glass, it was going to be the Riesling.
Yes. Well, Riesling, that's one of our specialties at Tawse for sure. And this one comes from another single vineyard that is called Limestone Ridge Vineyard, that is on the 20-mile bench subappellation. The soils are there's clay and loam with limestone in the subsoil. Mixed wines that are quite rich and round, but also with some minerality. And this 2021 Limestone Ridge Riesling is definitely one of my favorite wines right now that we have at Tawse. I think this is really really nicely balanced. And yes, it has a little bit of residual sugar really to make it balanced, but when you taste it you don't really feel the sweetness. It's nice and crisp and fresh, and I think it has everything that you would want in a Riesling, with the nice fruit, the nice rich ripe fruit, the floral and the mineral and the acid there as well. And I think everything is very balanced in this wine at this time. So I really enjoyed this Riesling myself too.
Yeah, the Riesling, I said because it's so well balanced, and I love the mouthfeel on it. So it's because it is kind of is a little more rich than maybe some other Rieslings in Niagara that I find. And it's got a nice long enough of a finish that it's like that perfect meal pairing thing where I can have it with this, I can have it with that. So it's a good all around white wine to sort of have for just about any time of the day, including
Yeah.
breakfast. I always tell
Yeah.
people, don't knock on breakfast. I said, Riesling and bacon is phenomenal as a pairing. Like I just love it. So anyways, yes, it's a
Yeah,
good
no,
one.
I see that with with the acidity cutting through fatness and oiliness in food, and the sweetness really working well with salt, right? So I think definitely we have a perfect match there. I
Yes.
I,
So
I
yes.
agree.
So that's my encouragement for all of you people to have wine with your breakfast. Yeah. Okay. I'm the bad influence today. Okay. So next up on our whites is the Chardonnay.
Yes, and this is also the Quarry Road Chardonnay, I believe.
No, it's the it says Vine Mount Ridge. Oh no, it is Quarry Road. You're right. Sorry, I don't have my
Yeah,
glasses on for the
no,
video.
no, that's okay.
Yep,
Just
Quarry
wanted
Road.
to double
Yep,
check.
yeah, Quarry.
So yeah, so oh, sorry about that. So yes, coming back to the Quarry Road vineyard again that we've owned since 2004 and has been farmed organically since 2006 or so. So organic farming, organic fruit. This Chardonnay is one of my favorite as well, and I think people when they try it, they really like it. Again, it's a Chardonnay that is not over the top. It's not a big Chardonnay; it's more elegant. It has freshness, and the way we make any of our Chardonnay, they are made they are fermented with indigenous yeast, and they're fermented in oak barrels, and all in French oak barrels. We don't really steer the wine in the barrels. We really want to keep the lees at the bottom, so we don't really want to impart too much richness in our Chardonnay. We're trying to make them quite elegant and fresh. And it has been about 14 months in French oak. It has been aged for about 14 months in French oak, and it makes wines that are, you find acid, you find mineral, you find a bit of stony character to this one, and the apple and pear is quite dominant as well, and with it, a tad of spice and a tad of cedar as well. I find so you get a bit of the oak influence, but not too much, and the finish is very clean and fresh and long as well. So this is from 2020 vintage, which was a really hot and good vintage in Niagara. So in that vintage, definitely the Chardonnay is a bit richer than some other years, but at the same time, it's not like a big Chardonnay. It's still very nice and fresh. So
Yeah, and that's it because it's coming from the Quarry Road, even with the warmer temperatures in 2020, I don't think it really it created a nice balance, right? Where you're still getting
Mhm.
the freshness of it. So it's I happen to prefer Chardonnays that way. I want it, I don't mind a little bit of oak aging and that richness, but I do like to have a really good, fresh and clean finish on them. So it's why your Chardonnays is always, it's been on our wine list quite often over the last few years.
Yes.
Not very recent.
Well, thank you for this, Stephanie.
You're right. Welcome. Okay. So now let's go on to the, of course, one of everyone's favorites, especially in the summers, Pinot Noir.
Yes, of course. So we're again in Quarry Road, and this is a particularly good vintage of this one. I feel what we felt with the Pinot Noir vines in our Quarry Road vineyard is that it took quite a bit of years for the vines to really get established, and this one was always good, but we definitely feel that is the quality and the style and has improved quite a bit, I would say, since 2019 or so. So as the vines are getting older and the roots are getting deeper, the wines have a bit more substance. Like, yes, you find the minerality, but I find that the tannins mostly have softened up a bit in this wine in the past few years. So the 2021 was a cool year, and it was a really good vintage. Actually, it will be, and it is a very good vintage, even though some people thought because of the rain and the humidity that it would not be a great vintage, but it ends up being a really good vintage for balance and elegant wine in the red and in the white as well. So this is a really good vintage of this Pinot Noir. It's not very tannic. Of course, Pinot Noir is not very tannic, generally speaking, but if you compare to some other vineyards we have, Quarry Road is usually a bit more tannic, and that year in 2021 it was not. It's very sumptuous. It has a bit, definitely quite velvety. It's quite complex. I find everything is really on point in this wine right now. So I think people will really enjoy it.
Yeah, so for the summer, especially when it's hot and I slightly chill it, especially when it's really fresh like that. It's a really good crowd pleaser where people tend to try to stay away from a lot of heavier reds when the warmer weather hits. So I think the
Yeah.
this Pinot Noir is going to be, because we're looking for a beautiful week over the next week. So
Yes.
our Tawse night, this is going to be a perfect one for the patio. So I'm excited for that.
Perfect.
All right, let's go on to an easy drinking one that's always a crowd pleaser, and that is the Cabernet Merlot.
Yes. So this is our Tawse Cabernet Merlot, made from Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and Merlot. It's one of our Bordeaux blend. And this one comes from 2020. And I find this wine to be a very good representation of this style of wine and the vintage as well. I think when people will try this wine blind, they will not think Ontario. I think it will bring them somewhere else. It's pretty bold. The quality is very good. The finish is long. This is actually a quite affordable wine that we have right now. And yeah, so you should expect black fruit, cassis, black cherry, cedar, spice, and again, like it's pretty rustic. Like I wouldn't say rustic. It's pretty bold and round. It has lots of fruit, and actually, it has quite a bit of tannins still. But the tannins that you find right now are still very balanced with the fruit, but the intensity of the tannins really indicate that it will age well as well for a few years, which is I find a bit surprising for the price that we're selling this wine. So I would think maybe 5 years in the cellar would be really good. So I'm really happy with this wine right now.
Yeah, and there still doesn't matter how warm the weather is. There are still people that always need to have a big, bold blend similar to this in their glass, especially in the evening. So this one I'm sure is going to be a big hit for sure. I can see that.
Yeah, for sure. It's very good with grilled, to be really good with barbecued red meat, for sure.
Yes, exactly. So I will have to make sure there's something beef on the menu.
Yes.
Okay. And then the last is this is a big staff favorite. We are always obsessed with a really good Cab Franc. And so your Cabernet Franc is right up there with most of our favorites. So this is their Growers Blend. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what the Growers Blend is for this.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, Cabernet Franc is also one of our specialties at the winery. We currently make two Cabernet Franc. Sometimes we make three, depending if we where we can source the grapes. But basically, the growers blend is usually a blend of purchased grapes coming from different growers in the area. So we do work with a few growers that we trust, that we like what they do, we like the way they farm their vineyard, and we basically tell them as well what we want, what we need. So we will tell them what kind of yields we want. Of course, the lower the yields, the better quality the wine would be normally. Even though the grapes are not necessarily farmed organically, they are coming from very good grower. In 2020, I believe there were 5 different growers nearby that we bought from fruit from, but there were 2 of them that were a bit more important in the blend, and that's from 2020. That big hot and dry vintage. So it makes a really good Cab Franc that has. I think it's a great representation of Cab Franc. Of course, Cabernet Franc usually have a bit of that vegetal notes, but not in a green way per se. It could be a bit like roasted peppers and herbaceousness, and you definitely find that there. But it has very nice round and ripe black fruit, blueberry, black cherry. It's medium plus body, I would say. Of course, compared to Cabernet Sauvignon, it's not as full bodied, and that's what I like about this one, because it's more versatile than Cabernet Sauvignon at the table. And that's the one as well that can age quite some time. So we make this one every year, and we source grapes from very good growers in the area. And when we feel that the quality is, we start with really good qualities to start with anyway, but then to make this wine, we'll definitely make sure that all the components are super high quality. So it's a really good Cabernet Franc.
Well, I think it's one of those things where you're choosing the best of the best grapes to start off with. So obviously, and then with, of course, the winemaker's touch, you create this beautiful blend of what Cabernet Franc should be, especially from Niagara. So we thank you for your Cabernet Franc, because we happen to really enjoy it here.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
so just last thing before we conclude, is there anything, special events or things that people should be aware of? What's happening maybe at the winery this summer?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we do own two wineries, as you may be aware, Tawse Winery and Redstone Winery. At Tawse, we have a concert on the 15th of June, which is our big event of the year. That is we are featuring Jim Cuddy and his band. And so it's a great evening of music and great food. We have vendors and food truck coming, and we'll be selling, of course, wine and beer. So it's usually a very, very nice evening. We have about 1,200 people coming, and it's a nice party. And then at Redstone Winery, we do have a few small concerts all through the summer. People, I would invite people to look online on our Redstone Winery website and look for these events. And we have a beautiful restaurant at Redstone as well. So I think if you're looking for somewhere to eat and taste really good wines, that would be a good spot. And also we have these events throughout the summer as well that could be interesting. So.
I said we always do our visits at Tawse, but when we go to Redstone, Alex and I were just there. We just finished having a quick dinner there, and we're a big fan of the pizzas. So I have to say, pizza on
Yes.
the patio at Redstone is always like a must when you're there because your patio is massive and it's gorgeous. Like that
Yeah,
patio,
perfect.
Redstone's gorgeous. And then I can let people know that for Redstone, so you can do a double whammy. So if you come to the Tawse night this coming Thursday, and then Redstone is going to be, I think it's our big finale. I think we're at the end of the summer. And then
Yes.
you're going to be here for that one. So we can do the send off for the end of the summer patio party, I think, which would be a lot of fun. Especially with the Redstone wines that we're really excited about. They always do really well here. I thank you very much for taking your time to chat with me ahead of time, just so we can kind of give people a little bit of a preview of what to expect for this event. So they have an idea of like which wines that they're going to make a flight with, which ones they're going to save to make take a bottle home. Because we do have discounted bottle prices only for that one night. And then if there's anything left, we will still allow people to sample it and stuff throughout the weekend. So it ends up being an entire Tawse weekend, which is a lot of fun.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyways, again, I thank you very much. It's always been a pleasure to sip and chat with you, and cheers to Ontario wines.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for your support as always. Have a good
Always.
day.